Would you ever send yourself an email telling yourself what a good job you did on a project?
Do you treat yourself creatively as well as you treat others? And why is the answer to that question no?
We're two childhood best friends talking about creative mindset.
I'm Emily Hatch.
And I'm Carrie Schaefer. And this is Honestly, Dear Listener.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo! So, one of the things that has brought me so much joy this week is I have this big built-in bookshelf wall in my living room, and I have a bunch of things that bring me joy on the shelves. Some of those items are typewriters. I have 2 manual typewriters. So for all the kids out there that don't know what that means, it means that it has no electricity that goes to it. It makes the letters by how hard you push down on the keys. And then I have one electric typewriter from the 1960s. It's a Smith Corona Coronet, and it is blue and green, and my grandma bought it from a yard sale, I think, like 25 years ago, and I was, like, immediately fell in love with her. The typewriter, not my grandma. I mean, I love my grandma, but I'm not in love with my grandma like I was in love with this typewriter, and she's so beautiful, and I've been doing my morning pages on her. Yes,
Ah,
I know, and she makes the most beautiful sounds. I will insert them here. This is the sound of her turning on. This is the sound of that her keys make. And this is the bell for the carriage return. I die. And she has just been such a joy. And it's the little things, really. It's the little things. So thank you, typewriter.
I love that. Have you ever seen, okay, because I am 70 years old, have you ever seen the Jerry Lewis video with the typewriter song and he acts like he's typing?
Uh-uh. Ooh.
You have to, okay, post this in the show notes, please. I will send it
Okay.
to you. It brings me a lot of joy, mostly because I love physical comedy and the typewriter sounds make me happy and it's all music. And Jerry Lewis, honestly, his ridiculous comedy was like a staple of my childhood. I think I've mentioned
Nice.
on the podcast before that I would be like on recess and just trying to find anyone on multiple occasions, anyone who knew who Jerry Lewis was. And I was just mind blown that no one knew. Anyway.
I know you taught me a lot about him and his comedy.
Yep. I love a physical comedy situation, weird faces. Anywho, I
Uh-huh.
love that I got like little chills when you just talked about your morning pages on your typewriter. That's awesome.
Woo! Emily, give me an update. Tell me the thing.
Okay, so I own my own business. I am a voice teacher and singer. I get hired as a contractor generally for other companies to do certain things music wise. And I just took on a new job. It's music related. I'm excited. In a lot of ways, it is ticking a box of things I'd like to be a part of and do. It's not exactly what I want to do, but it is in the vein and it's in the city. So that's great. I've noticed that with my jobs that I have as a contractor and now with this job, I'm immediately just so eager to please everyone. And I'm just so ready to invest my time in their business. And I don't love that because immediately I'm like, oh, my stuff can wait. Even so, my contract work that is mine, me creating a presentation, me doing a masterclass, me working on backing singing that I just got that job as well. Like that stuff that is my ass, I immediately push down on the list of priorities. Now, let's also talk about this. I make more money when I work for me than I do when I work for these friends. Not just this new company, but other contracting, like hourly work that I do. What the hell? I've been thinking about this a lot. why do I value other people's creative projects more? Why do I value a boss more than I value my own work and being the boss of me? That's a
Yep.
big question. Now, solve this problem for me. Just kidding.
Okay, I
That's
will.
what's happening.
Just
That's what's
kidding.
happening. Click, 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 click of the old knuckles. Let me get
You know
in
what's
there.
so weird about this is that, okay, I was trying to do some morning pages. If anyone's familiar with the Artist's Way, she has you do morning pages, and I just think it's a great way to start off your day. So I was doing some morning pages, and I wrote down, hold on, let me get to it. I said, I want to take what I think and make seriously, because I obviously don't, right?
Why do you
Like
say that?
everyone, because if I did, I think that I things would look completely differently. I would make time for the things that I'm making. I would I value everyone else's endeavors so much. I
Mm,
value when I'm working for, like you were saying, when I'm working for a boss or have somebody that I don't want to disappoint, all of a sudden that is in the foreground and everything else is in the background. All of my stuff is in the freaking background. And I don't like that. Why is it that I don't take what I do seriously? Because all of a sudden when other people are involved, it feels real.
mm.
What is it about other people being involved in it that makes it feel real, that then on the other hand makes things feel unreal when it's just you doing it?
I feel like there are so many layers to this, and that's what I was thinking about this morning. I think there's the undeniable, like, capitalistic piece of things. I think we
Mhm.
are, um, as like members of a capitalist society, we are kind of trained to, like, you get a job, you have the boss tells you what to do, you do that thing, you get ding money in your checking account. That's like,
Mhm.
I did a thing. Look. Um, and I think we're trained to want that, and that's the normal thing, and that's what you do till you die. Um, but I also think there's this piece that is, unfortunately, always circling back to, maybe I don't value myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ew.
I know. Dude, I'm totally right there with you. I think you're completely right. When I obviously don't value myself enough, because if I did, look at all the opportunities, look at all the time, look at all the creative space I would give that person if I truly valued her. And that hurts. But I
Mhm.
think when you're talking about capitalism, I think you're completely right. It's like that we as individuals have been trained to think, oh, you're doing a thing? Great. It's only valuable insofar as it brings in money
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
insofar as it is, you are being a cog that can fit within the larger picture of the whole, and you're
Mhm.
useful.
Mhm.
And a lot of times art is useful. I'm using air quotes here. But a lot of times, like, does art have to be useful in order for it to be art? Like, I would
Mhm.
say no,
For it to be
you know,
valuable, does it
for it
have
to
to
be
be
valuable.
yeah, useful?
And is it worth doing if the only value that it brings is to yourself, for your own joy, for your own entertainment, for your own whims?
Mhm.
And that's where I go, "Of course it is, of course." But then I go, "Well, look at you and your endeavors. You 'twould seem you don't actually believe that when it applies to you." And then I go, "Oh."
Yeah. Oops. I think even when it is bringing my struggle right now is, like, mine is bringing monetary value as well.
Mm.
And I'm
Mhm.
still more. This is what is infuriating. I make more per hour when I work for myself.
Mhm.
Like, that is monetary value, but I'm like, "Okay, it's fine. I'm gonna make a quarter of what I normally would make because this man needs something from me, and I
Mm.
like that." I
Yeah.
think that's also that people-pleasing piece of things. It's like devaluing oneself in a big way. It's
Mhm.
capitalistic stuff, but it's also like, "I want to make this man happy
Mhm.
and send me an email that's like, 'You're great.'" And I'm like, because why? God knows I don't give myself any flowers. I don't email
You
myself
should
and I'm
buy
like,
yourself flowers.
"Yeah." But yeah, I don't know. I think it's that too. I think it's just plain old people pleasing. I hate to use this word in this situation, but for me, it applies like patriarchy.
Mhm.
Uh, that is like, I like this dude and I believe in what he's doing. And I want him to be
Mm.
happy with me helping him.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Do you think too it has to do like where we were raised in a school system where it's like, okay, you start this project, whatever project you're doing in school, and then you work really hard on it, and then you get a grade on it, and then it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the most jarring things for me when I wasn't in school anymore is I felt like, okay, who's going to give me the grades?
Mm-hmm.
And at one point I asked my husband, this was a long time ago. He was horrified. I said, "Can you give me a weekly grade on how I'm doing?"
No.
And he said, no, I will not be doing that."
Thank God Seth is a good dude.
I know. But
I
I
feel like
was
there's a lot of husbands that are just like, yes.
absolutely, I will. No, but I felt this need for where is the affirmation gonna come from that I am in the top 3% of this class or whatever, as
Mm-hmm.
evidenced by my grade? Where's the evidence now? And I think with art, it doesn't work like that. If we're expecting success on this grand level, a lot of times that doesn't happen. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. Is the thing still worth doing even if you're not recognized for it? And my mouth says, "Of course." But my brain is like, "Well, not when it comes to you. Hell no." Like, we need those accolades, or, like,
Yep.
what's the point? But, like, do I really really? Is that what I really wanna believe?
How do we set up some kind of vision or award system for ourselves? Like,
Yeah.
what if we could give ourselves a grade, but doing something like, I'm just spitballing here.
Mhm.
Um, but by doing something that always gives us a good grade. And that is like, if we let our self-hatred govern, then we always are failing. That doesn't work. What how do we like set things up so that we're our happy, sweet boss who is so proud of
Mhm.
us? um, and like value that part of us too. I don't know.
So, okay, I don't know. But, the thing that because I did a little bit of writing on this the other day, because I was like, "We have to solve this issue. How are we gonna
Issue.
solve it? This issue." And I was thinking about, okay, maybe I'm holding myself a little bit too close. Let's dissociate a little bit and look at myself out here. And then I think about, okay, how would I go about this if I was parenting my child? Not that you have to be a parent or anything to figure out how to do this, but like how it kind of helps me to think about like, okay, Carrie out here. What can I do for her that would set her up for succeeding. And by success, I don't mean, oh, she's has a book deal or she's some major celebrity now, but like maybe success can be she showed up 4 times this week
Mm.
to do the thing, to make the art, to put the time in, to really be able to play. And so when I think of her out there, when almost like am outside of my body looking at her, that seems to be an easier way of loving myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that to be the case, but I almost kind of have to trick myself.
It's positive and creative dissociation.
Yeah, yes.
Because
But
usually
I
when we
also
hear dissociation, we're like,
mhm.
ooh, that sounds like a good kind.
Yes. No, there are definitely it's a strategy in life coaching that you can kind of help to create some psychological distance so that you can have a different perspective on
Mm-hmm.
yourself or someone else. So I think in that way it can be helpful. But there are definitely some unhealthy ways of dissociating for sure. I'm
But
talking about the healthy ones.
this sounds like a positive one.
Yes. So I I was wondering, okay, so what would life look like if I was valuing my efforts like I value other people's efforts? And just a couple of them. I would be setting up my physical spaces for future me to be able to get into the flow of creating easier. And what I mean by that is what I will do is I will go in and I will make something, and like right now, if y'all could see my sewing space right now, it's like pattern pieces everywhere and it's just generally a mess. And I will leave it like that. I will just walk out of the space. Well, then when I come back in later wanting to create, I go, "Oh my gosh, it's messy. I can't create in here," and I'll just close the door.
Mm,
Instead of after that creating session, taking 5 minutes to clean up, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not all or nothing, which is something that I'm like, "Well, it's not worth doing unless it's perfectly clean afterwards." Like, no, 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 no. That's not it. Take 5 minutes, clean up what you can to a point where it's inspiring to come into that space the next time and start making things.
mhm,
I think if I really valued myself, I would be thinking about future me and what she needs, not just current me.
mhm. That is a great so we have a roommate that's here every few weeks, and before I know he's coming home, I'm like, I know where he likes to work in the house, and I know, like and I care about him, so I'm like, "Okay, I wanna make sure that, like, his space is clear and he feels like he's coming home to this, like, happy, clean place that someone cares
Yep.
about," and I, like, I'll make extra meals when he's here so that, like, my husband and I can eat and then he can eat. Uh, I don't do that for me at all. I barely
Yeah.
remember to eat. I, like, don't clear a space for me to have a happy time,
Mhm.
I'm just like, "Oh, you garbage human. You can sit over here in the corner under a pile of shit."
Right?
That's yeah, I think that's such a good idea, like, how would I treat it if I were my roommate
Yes.
that wanted to work in this space?
Yes.
Setting yourself up a space that you're like, "Hey, come on. Aren't you
Mhm.
excited?" And you're like, "Yeah."
Ooh. Yes. Like, look, all the tools are here. They're all nice and pretty and put away and just ready to party. Has anyone seen Bridesmaids?
Oh my god. That is one of my favorite movies.
Oh gosh, the airplane scene. Oh, I
There's
die.
nothing like there are a few scenes better than that.
Oh, you do? Oh, you do? Oh my gosh. I'm gonna
Kristen
have to put
Wiig.
that in the show notes. You
Yep.
guys, Kristen Wiig is so freaking funny in that movie. Ugh. Anyway, that's a tangent,
Yep.
but
That
it's a
was a
good
fun
one.
one.
Woo! What would be different if you valued your endeavors like you value other people's endeavors?
I have to think about it. Is that a real
Okay.
question? Or is this just a was
No,
that
it's a real
just a rhetorical question?
Yes, I really do want an answer to that question. If you
Okay.
need to take a second, that's fine.
Okay, I had this little window of time during the pandemic where my friend introduced this idea and I realized I was starting to do it. I would go, like, buy fresh flowers for, like,
Mm.
$12 at the grocery store, and I would buy, like, 1 or 2 candles that I really liked the smell of and just have them set up for where I would be working because it made me feel like I was romancing myself to some
Mhm.
degree that, like, I want to sit in this space and, like, be happy here. It's pretty here. It smells good, and I want to, like, sit here and do that, like, peacefully, you know?
Yep.
So that's something that really helped me, and my friend was doing that, and he was just like, "It makes my day so much better." Like, I'm looking forward to going to sit with my little bougie candle or, my Target candle, whatever, and my little flowers that I have that last for a week or whatever, you know? Um,
Mhm.
I think that would be, like, pleasant. It's like wooing.
Totally. You're wooing your creative self because you
Yeah.
don't woo things that you don't value.
I also have a friend, we were at a writing retreat, and she was like, "I wore my blue pants today because I feel like they invite more creativity." Like, and I just love that because it was like she dressed up for her songs.
Yes.
I'm
Oh, that
like,
okay, so that is the energy that I'm talking about right there. Is like those little things that we can do that we would do for other people, you know, but
mhm,
we also deserve that too, and maybe even so much more.
yeah. I mean, there's that cliche that's like, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. But
It's true.
okay, like that's good for everyone. And I would tell my student that, but
Uh-huh.
I'm different. I'm a piece of shit.
I'm special.
I'm
I'm
especially
shitty.
unspecial.
Yep, yep. One of the things that I think I would do differently if I valued myself more is I would talk about my endeavors differently. Because right now it feels like, "Oh, what do you do? What do you do?" And all these people are like, "Oh, yeah, I create this and I did," and I'm like, "That's great, awesome." And then they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I write." I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just like, "No, and I'm not published or anything like that." Like, ugh, whatever. And they're like, "Well, tell me more about that." And by the time I'm done, I have just shat all over the thing that I've made and thoroughly convinced them I'm a big fat failure. And then I'm like, "Oh, why don't I value myself?" Well, the way you're like, I would never talk about an enemy like that. Why am I talking about myself like that? And so it's interesting. It's like if you wanna know if somebody values themselves, ask them about their work and then see don't don't listen necessarily to what they say. How are they talking about what they're making? And I feel like
Hmm.
that will tell you a lot. But it feels like if I'm speaking about what I do respectfully, it feels like I'm bragging
Mhm.
or I'm making it seem more valid than it actually is.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, what's the deal with that? You know what I think some of it is? We prepare our talking about ourselves as if we are talking to the most insecure version of ourselves. So I believe that when we hear someone's cool stuff they're doing, we just absorb it and we're like, that sounds awesome. I think you're great. Um, but then if we're really insecure, super insecure, we hear someone talk about what they do and we immediately filter through like, are they lying? They probably don't do that because it makes me feel bad about myself. I think I filter through to the most insecure version of me that this person's going to pick up, well, she's not really that great. Or they, worse, are going to think I'm great, go here or see what I did and realize that I'm not that good at what I do. I don't know.
Mm,
Instead, I think that's like our imposter syndrome taking over for those things, right? Like,
mhm.
why would w- in most situations I would never hear someone say they did something and then be like, "You're probably dumb." Like
Right.
I unless I feel really insecure about myself. And in that case, we can't talk to that version of people.
So much of this is, "Oh gosh, I don't wanna seem away to this person," or, "I don't want them to figure out after they read what I have written or heard me sing or watch me perform, I don't want them to be like, 'Oh, she doesn't know that she's not good.'"
Mhm.
Like that
Mhm.
pity piece, and
Mhm.
then every time I go to that, then I think, "What other people think about your art is none of your goddamn business."
Yep.
Truly, it is none of my business,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's I think at the core of all of this is, once again, we talked about last week, fear.
Mhm.
I fear being disconnected from other people. Because if they pity me, that is a way of that is disconnection. That's holding someone out here away from you, not close to you, and that's
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, poor thing, she doesn't know."
Mhm.
And I am afraid of that.
But I really, so this is what I mean by saying we're speaking to the worst version of maybe
Mhm.
ourselves or someone else. Because emotionally healthy people don't usually pity people who are
Yep.
doing things.
Yep.
I know folks who I don't prefer their art. I think that they need more work. But if they're doing it, like, I'm happy for them and I'm proud of them for that.
They're
So,
doing it. That's
yep.
amazing.
So it's like you're assuming a lot about a person. If you think you're going to tell them something and then they're going to react poorly to you or think you're stupid, that's assuming they're shitty.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Yes.
emotionally healthy people aren't sitting there waiting for you to reveal how stupid you are.
Yep.
So there's that. Like, it's valuing your own self, but it's also like, I'm going to assume you're not a shitty person and tell you
Right.
this thing,
Right.
you know?
Yep.
I've been thinking about that with audiences, or like I'm preparing my first big presentation for an organization that I've known about since I was like 15 years old and I'm terrified. And I'm like, why? The people that are in this audience are there to like absorb your knowledge and
Mhm.
in the way that you say it. Could we assume that you do know what you're talking about? That's why you're here. Could we assume that the people who are in the audience are excited to hear what you're going to say? Like, let's assume we go in with value
Hmm.
and speak to people that also want to find value in what we're saying.
Mhm. Yeah. So, assuming that the other person is not a shitty person.
Yeah. I mean, value yourself enough to also say like the people that are around me are not waiting for me to fail either. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
But at the same time, we have to also bring that energy as an audience member. So, like we've talked about before,
Mhm.
to be better to ourselves, we have to be a good audience member for other people.
Mhm. And I think that that goes back to your most insecure self, I think, for a lot of people is skeptical and defensive.
Mhm.
And if you're receiving someone's information, why would you immediately doubt them?
Right.
Generally because of your own pain, like maybe they're making something you wish you made. Um, so being a good recipient an audience member of witnessing other people's lives helps you have more confidence that other people are doing the same for you.
Mhm.
And if they're not,
Absolutely.
then they might be having a problem.
Mhm. Which is none of your business anyway.
Again, yeah. Isn't
Yep.
that lovely?
I love that. I love keeping my nose in my own business. Oh, I'm looking at my thing that I wrote about how things would be different if I valued my work. I do value my work. I guess I should say value my work more. I think it also would look like making reasonable expectations for myself because I am constantly like, I'm going to write for, you know, 16 hours a day. And then I'm just going to be so bubbling over with energy because of my writing that I'll go out and I'll, go to the gym for 4 hours at night. And like, it's
I really
so,
like the voice you're talking to yourself in. This is your
yep.
hopeful, creative
Yeah.
voice, and I really like it.
It's the voice that is thinking I have much more energy than I actually do have. And it's so hopeful that it's not realistic.
Last night, mine was, I'm going to get up at 7. I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to get the stuff for dinner. And then I'm going to do an hour and a half for some other guy. And then I'm going to do my stuff. And then I'm going to do a
Yep.
podcast. And then I'm going to teach for 5 hours. And I'm going to feel so energetic. I'm going to practice after that.
Yep.
This is what I do every day.
Yep.
And then at the end of the night, I go, I don't think you ever thought, excuse me,
hmm
you are failing at this. We can't do anything. Lay down.
hmm
All right.
I almost always set myself up for failure because my expectations are so big. Instead of being like, hey, guess what success looks like? You sat down for 30 minutes and literally wrote anything on the page. Awesome, I did it. I've done that now for the last 4 days. Maybe we can do an hour. Maybe we can do 2 hours. Oh, and then we're done or whatever it looks like. But like achievable, realistic, reasonable goals.
You're speaking another language to me.
I
I
know.
don't know.
Yep. Yep.
Those
Like
are,
we are not
what was it?
workhorses.
Achievable?
Wait. Oh
Hmm.
no. Now I can't reproduce it.
Realistic.
Achievable, realistic, reasonable goals and expectations.
How do you know how to do that?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't, but
I feel like
I think one of the tools is once again dissociating from yourself and thinking about you as another person and saying, would that be reasonable for her? Or would that be reasonable for if I'm thinking about myself? Would that be a reasonable expectation that I would have of Emily? Or am I like task mastering and being like, Emily, you're going to do X, Y, and Z for 16 hours a day?
so I have an employee.
Mm-hmm.
Would I be like, okay, I'm going to set your schedule for you. Get up at 7, start doing this, then do work for this person, then this person, then this person. Forget to have lunch because you are too busy and you can't take the time to eat. What do you mean your brain's not working? Okay, like, why don't you have, like, we have no time for a panic attack. So you're going to have to just get right back to it. And if you don't get all these tasks done, then you can't take your own time to make your own things that you need to do, which you don't do enough of. I would never call
Mm-hmm.
Leah and be like, okay, bitch, get your ass out of bed and
Yep.
be productive or you're going to die doing nothing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not what I would do.
No, because it's not kind, it's not gentle, and that's not sustainable over time. So she's going to burn out and then she's
Yep.
going to quit working for you. So how have we not quit working for ourselves?
Sometimes we do.
Sometimes we do. Yep.
Yeah. So if that piece of it is if I valued my art as much as other people's work, or like my work as much as other people's work. I would be a good boss who set realistic goals
Mhm.
for my employee,
Which is you.
which is me.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. Hmm.
Yep.
And would one of my goals be for someone to be famous? Let's
No.
just set this undescript weighted blanket of you know, like, okay, now I'm going to need for us to grow this podcast, Carrie, I'm going to need you to get famous.
Mhm. Right. Or would you do that to your child? Would you have a child and be like, "Okay, child, here are my expectations. You're gonna be so brilliant at this that you are gonna be famous, and if you are not, I'm pissed." You know?
I will not talk to you anymore. Just
Right.
isolate that piece. Yep.
Like, would that be psychologically healthy for that child or for you? No, it would not. So why are
Nope.
we doing that for ourselves? Also, you're famous because enough people recognize who you are, which is somewhat out of your control, you know?
That's what I'm saying. It's this like big cloud of what does that even mean?
And what
Famous
does that
to
even
who?
mean? Exactly.
It's so vague. Like,
Yes. It's too much pressure. It's a healthy parent would not ask that of their child. You know, now asking your child to do the best that they can and to, whatever they're doing, try and do it with excellence. I mean, I think that's a within reason.
I
Seems
was
like a
just gonna
healthy
say
goal. Mhm.
it's tricky because that there's also that grade thing
Mhm.
again.
Yes.
That's like the best I can. Well, the best I can is get up at 7 a.m.
Uh-huh.
And at 7:30, go to the grocery store. Then you
Mhm.
come back.
Yeah, but I
Anyway,
we tell our kids that. Like, I tell my kids, "Hey, if the best you can do is a C, I'm thrilled with it. I happen to know, and your test scores show that that is not the case, that you are capable of so much more. So we do expect you to do the best you can because we know that you're capable of more." Um, for better or worse, that's what we tell our kids, but I'd be thrilled if what I knew that they could do was C work and that was it, I'd be thrilled with a C.
and even that conversation of, you know, do the best you can. And when that neurotic part of us is like, I could do better, being like, okay, like, why don't you start here and just do the lesser amount the best you can, just for a little while? If you see, because, like, anxious kids are like, push, push, push. And you have to be like, okay, like, the very best you can is still within reason, like talking to yourself,
Mhm.
valuing that part of yourself and being like, I mean, again, externalizing it. If someone at work isn't getting back to me on something, I don't assume they suck and they hate me. I'm like, oh, they're probably busy and needing to like do something else or take time for something else. We could do that for ourselves.
Mhm.
Like having that conversation that's like, right now, you can't do that. And this is still your best.
Right, exactly. I guess when I say do the best you can, maybe I'd put a little addendum that said, while still maintaining kindness and gentleness with yourself, while still valuing your physical and emotional well-being.
I love that. Honestly, I feel like that was a little light bulb for me.
Tell me about that.
Because so I think, and I don't know if you guys are feeling that thing, but if you are like overachiever status constantly like me, the best you can has always been a stressful
Mm.
thing. Like I'm doing my best. Well, I'm not like doing my best unless I am like working all the time, and I
Mhm.
even literally last night like dream about my work. That's
Mhm.
the best I can. until I am not well.
Yep.
So, doing the best you can while taking care of your emotional, mental, physical health and like that's that sounds like a valuing
Mhm.
yourself before anything else kind of thing, and that's great. I
Right.
love it. There's just some great nuggets here, Carrie, okay?
Well, I don't know. I mean, am I doing this wonderfully? No. But I'm at least I'm starting and I'm tending in that direction, I guess. I have a
Practicing.
goal. Oh, that is the perfect word, Emily. I'm practicing, yes.
So if
I
one day we're getting this shit and the next day we're not,
Mhm.
that's cuz we're practicing.
We're practicing. Yep.
Mhm.
All right, Emily. Yes.
Well, this is really great. I hope, dear listeners, that you got as much out of this as I did. We really wander down the halls of our minds and find that Carrie and I generally in a week are experiencing really similar thoughts and feelings. I feel like the vibrations that we're feeling you're probably feeling as well. And we're just happy to know that you're out there listening and going through this with us. And we want to hear more about your journey, that anything you want to share, or
Yes,
if you
please.
just want to be like, I like it, because God knows we need attention. So
We need we need them grades.
please, A plus.
Speaking of grades, you can grade us. If you go to Apple Podcasts, you can give us a 5-star rating.
There's no option less.
Yes, just the 5-star rating. That's what we're going for. And if it's anything lower than that, then just don't do it.
You guys are the best. Thanks for
Yep.
hanging out with us today.
Love it.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo!